What's up, Western Oregon? We're back with the TD show. This is episode 4. Sorry about last week. Some technical difficulties kept us from putting out an episode. There's a lost episode out there on the computer somewhere. It was a great one. I mean, it was awesome. But sadly, we had to shelve it. Some technical issues, me going out of town. But we are back and with episode 4 of the TD show, and plenty to talk about today, Danny.
Plenty to talk about. I mean, let's just start things right off. I mean, the Ducks had a magical run in this postseason.
Magical.
I mean, storybook written. I mean, obviously they fell just short against Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts, congrats to them. They're making it to the College World Series. Wish nothing but for the best for them. But, I mean, the Ducks, man. I mean, best of 3 series. They came back from that 8-0 deficit. I mean, I wasn't at the game, but I watched that live at home, and oh my God, I was screaming on my TV. I definitely upset my neighbors. But, I mean, the Ducks, I mean, they did so much. Shout out to the senior, shout out to the coach, shout out to everybody. Shout out to the crowd.
Yeah.
First of all.
That's a good place to start.
I think PK Park, I mean, look at this crowd. I mean,
yeah.
It was truly remarkable how packed it was. I mean, they sold out every single game.
Yeah.
They were loud. They were rambunctious. I mean, all over Twitter, all over social media, you saw that these fans were so beyond excited for this team and happy for the team. And I think that just really carried, especially in that 8-0 deficit. I mean, what did you get from all that?
I mean, first of all, I feel like you've said you've disturbed your neighbors so many times on this podcast. How have you not been evicted yet? I feel like it's Warriors games, Raiders games. You're always making these people mad.
I definitely am surprised I've not got a disturb the peace citation.
Yeah.
Because especially when my teams are playing, I mean, it gets loud. I scare my girlfriend. I scare my cats. I scare everybody. It's a terrifying story.
Yeah. I remember when I was living in West Virginia, me and my roommate, during March Madness, he graduated from Michigan. I graduated from USC. We both lost in the Elite Eight on the exact same day, and it was the only time we ever got a complaint. Because we were in like a little townhome. It wasn't like we were on top of each other with the other people living in the building, and that was the only time we got a complaint. I think they thought we were in an absolute fist fight against each other, throwing stuff. But yeah, a good place to start, I think, is with the crowd because Oregon State obviously has always had the better baseball culture when it comes to environment. That's undebatable. In fact, it's almost a running joke on Twitter and stuff. And in real life, it's true. When Oregon State comes to Eugene, there's more Beavers fans at the games than Ducks. So PK Park, since I've been here, I've never thought it was a particularly special environment and never been that electric. Some moments here and there. That was not the case this weekend.
No, sir.
It looked like it looked rowdy. It looked like a football game. I liked that the students showed up, kind of the end of the semester. Did you kind of see that? I mean, you just graduated. A lot of people still in school. What was your sense of the way the students came out to support?
For that first game, I mean, there were so many students. I mean, who cares if it was getting ready for finals week? They were at that game. They showed out for their Ducks. Plenty of my friends, plenty of people I knew were at that game. And I think that's huge. I mean, Hayden Herrera, our sports director, he was at the game, and he said it was like a football game. I mean, the concourse, you could barely walk through.
People with their shirts off.
People with their shirts off, kids running around. People were just having the best time. But, he said it was beyond crowded. If you didn't have a seat, you were going to be standing majority of the time. I mean, it looked
lit.
On TV, it looked lit. It looked lit, for lack of better words.
Right.
But, going back to it, the student body population, all the students, they showed out for this game, and I think that's huge.
So you've been around this for longer, so give me a sense of what fan support has been like for baseball, during your 4 years of college compared to kind of what we saw. Were students interested? Was it kind of a mix? What was it like when you were on campus?
It's actually kind of funny. My senior year, there was a class that my buddy and I used to ditch all the time, this geology class. Geology of the national parks. Sounds cool.
It does sound cool.
Boring class of all time.
Because you're analyzing rocks. You're like,
looking
is
at
this
the sedimentary
basalt?
levels and it's all this stuff, and I'm just like, I thought we were talking about Yosemite.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, there was UO baseball games during the week. It's spring term. I'm like, man, the weather's nice. I don't want to go sit for 2 hours in a lab.
Yeah.
You would be like, let's just go to a baseball game.
Right.
The tickets are free for students. And I mean, during the week, the crowds were a little, the crowd, it could have been a lot more full.
Yeah.
Right. There's a couple students. There's more parents and families because, tickets are cheap and everything. Weekends, it got a little better, but it was nothing. I mean, like you said, I've also never seen PK Park this packed.
So, yeah, you've never seen it this packed. Used to ditch class and go and it'd be empty. I've had the same experience going to that building. And then you have Oregon State, of course, hard not to compare them. And these programs are inextricably tied, right? Because Oregon State winning back-to-back titles, clearly what prompted Oregon to bring the program back. And I was just talking about this with Hayden in our sports cave. It's like, the fan support, it's hard to have that when you don't have any history. And they don't have any history since the 80s, since like literally 1980 when the program went away. So you don't have those legendary players to pass down. Yeah. You don't have dads taking their sons or daughters to games, in the 90s and then carrying that tradition forward. True. And you could feel that lack of tradition. Sometimes PK Park can feel a little too corporate. It can feel a little too inauthentic. So I guess the question now, from your perspective and my perspective, is how much do you think that this will change? How much do you think that this individual super regional run in the year of 2023 will change the program's culture, the fan support going forward in the years to come?
I'm not going to say it yet, but I think Oregon could potentially be on their way to becoming like a baseball school. They're known for their track and field. They're known for their football. They're known for their basketball. But I think what we saw from this magical run that they had in the postseason, seeing the fans come out, I mean, these fans are hungry for baseball. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Oregon State, Oregon, I mean, hell, let's give them an MLB team. These fans are hungry for baseball. They want to come out for their community. I mean, it was just jam-packed. These fans want to see some excellent baseball. So I think with this run that they just had, I think it's going to carry for them heavily in their favor for this next year. I think next year we're going to see a much better attendance. I think Oregon baseball is going to get a lot more just coverage.
What this group created with the fans, the fans we need to thank. This group brought interest to Oregon baseball that's never had this level of interest. The community, the fans, the student section, the environment that we got to experience was directly related to this senior class and draft class.
I mean, it was unbelievable. Yeah. For lack of better words, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, you have guys like Tanner Smith came in 2019 when I was a senior in college at USC, so he's been around the block for quite a while because I'm an old man now. But he, when he started, the program was a losing program. They'd had back-to-back losing seasons. So for him to see the program go from that to having as lively as an environment as they did. I think this is also coinciding with like a real rise of college baseball. Talking with Brandon Cameraman about that, our news anchor.
Overheard that conversation yesterday.
And it's true. Like, don't listen in on our conversations anymore, Danny. That's pretty weird.
Yeah, I shouldn't eavesdrop. That's my bad.
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane over there. No. Nosy guy. But it's coinciding with that because I think there's a real interest and a real zest for college baseball right now. I think it's such an exciting sport. I think the fact that anything can change on a dime, any comeback can happen, like we saw in Game 1 against Oral Roberts, which we'll dive into in a second. So it's coinciding with that. But I'm with you. I think there's potential because now people will tell stories about this team and this run that they went on and that 8-run comeback that they went on in the Super Regionals, pass that on to their kids. And I think they're hoping that it sort of carries over into next year. And it takes time to build a program's culture and to build a fan base. It's not something that happens overnight. But moments like this, moments like making it to the Super Regionals, getting out of Nashville, and having stars. I mean, the star power on this team, they're going to lose a lot. But it's ridiculous. Some of these guys I think are going to be icons in this program's history. So Oregon baseball, definitely on the upswing fan-wise right now. We'll see if it carries over. I'm not sure if it'll happen next year, but, I think, and then I'll let you continue, but I think, like, my concern is that we saw this with women's basketball, right? I think if anyone that was around the Sabrina years like you were, you would have said this program is built to last forever. Now that it's a little more of a mediocre program the last couple of years, the fan support has dwindled a tad. Still, I think they have better fans than the men's program. The women's program probably has more diehard fans
I would say more passionate for
at this particular moment, more season ticket holders. But I'm not sure that carried over as well. And I think it's a West Coast thing. It's a Pac-12 thing maybe. But sometimes fan support can wane here when things aren't going as well. And that's fine. I mean, people have things to do, obviously. And this isn't Starkville, Mississippi, where maybe that's the only thing going on is a baseball game. But do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like sometimes at Oregon, fan support can wane when things get back to a little more mediocre. And that's also because this is an excellent college program.
Yeah.
with a lot going on. So
expectations are high. That's the thing about
people
Oregon.
expect excellence in everything.
That's the thing about Oregon Duck fans is they have such high expectations. I mean, you look at Lanning, first-year head coach. There was expectations of like, this is a college football playoff team, which is an insane expectation
crazy.
For a first-year head coach.
For a guy that has never even challenged a play before or had to call a timeout at a key situation.
And it's like, he went to the national championship with Georgia, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
But, I mean, these Ducks fans, I think that's what, is the only thing is they have such high expectations. And when those expectations are met, these fans are like, oh, well, I mean, I could skip out on this game, especially if it comes for basketball, baseball. But going back to what you were saying earlier, I mean, I think college sports as a whole is definitely on the rise. I mean, you look at college baseball, you look at college softball with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, this run they're going on, historic run.
Unreal.
You look at college football with NILs, you look at just college sports in general, March Madness for men and women's. I mean, it's just college sports, I think, in general is just on such a rise. I mean, you look at NILs, you look at like now you can, do some like sports betting and stuff like that. But I think it's huge in general. And I think, I think Oregon baseball is in a really good spot right now. You know, they're in that kind of whirlwind, whatever you would want to call it. And I think they'll be on the rise.
Excellent seasons for Missy Lombardi and Mark Wazakowski.
100%.
I think getting those programs to the next level, they both started around the same exact time.
Mm-hmm.
They both had their struggles, their ups and downs. They've had excellent runs, but from where those programs were, with what Missy Lombardi was dealing with the transition from Mike White and that mass exodus of players, to get that program to the Super Regionals this year was big. For Oregon baseball to get there was big, and I think both programs were very reliant on senior classes that will go down in Oregon lore. So let's talk. We've already talked about softball at length in our past episodes. You could check those out. Tara McGowan, Allie Bunker, what those girls meant to the program over at Jane Sanders Stadium. But let's talk about this senior group, and then we will get into the bad of what exactly went wrong for this Oregon team in the Super Regionals and maybe what they need to do to improve and make it to Omaha the next time around. But let's talk about the senior class because I think this will go down in Oregon history forever. You have guys like Drew Cowley, you have Gavin Grant, and you have Tanner Smith, who I interviewed at the beginning of the year, who I think put this program to a different level. And I think they did it with I think the common thread for a lot of those guys is clutchness. And I think that's part of why Oregon was able to get to this point in the season, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, like Tanner Smith, I mean, all these guys, I think the seniors really showed out. I mean, I was even getting emotional seeing when, the coach brought them all out for that press conference. I mean, these seniors mean so much to not only to the players, to the fans. I mean, they mean so much to the Oregon program. I mean, Tanner Smith, that's going to be a name that's going to stick around for a while just because of all the records he's done. I mean, like you said, you interviewed him.
Yeah.
Tanner Smith, he's a stud.
Yeah. So great senior class. Drew Cowley a part of that. So game one, Oregon's trailing 8-0 in the third inning. No team had ever come back in a super regional game. Teams were 0-96.
Yeah.
That's like you shooting shots with you shooting your shot at Rennie's your sophomore year, 0-96. And to go from that to coming back to winning the game. So to put it in context, unfortunately this weekend, I mean, it was my best friend's wedding, but I would have also loved to be at the Super Regionals. But my best friend was getting married, so we were driving back from the reception dinner back to his house Friday night. And, earlier in the night, I was checking on the score, obviously not able to watch intently, but I saw the score 8-0, and I was like, oh boy, losing game one is tough. Looks like the Ducks season could be ending pretty soon here. I turned it on my YouTube TV as we're driving back to his house Friday night, and I watched that ninth inning, and that was unbelievable for them to come back from that deficit. I mean, goosebump-inducing stuff. And then Drew Cowley hits an RBI single to right field. Riku Nishida comes in. Unbelievable call by Joey Mack.
Oh, man,
the play-by-play guy. That'll go down in history for sure.
100%.
Shout out to him for a great season. But that's one of the coolest moments I've seen since being here in Eugene was that game one comeback.
100%. I mean, and they snapped Oral Roberts' winning streak. It was like 21 game win streak.
It was like the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania. Exactly.
No, I mean, it was unreal. I mean, Oral Roberts was on this huge tear.
Yeah.
They're in enemy territory, and I mean, they were up 8-0. I mean, you heard the commentators, you heard the fans. It was quiet at PK Park. And then you start seeing these hits and these runs, and it's slowly starting to come back. Like you said, with Drew Cowley and Riku Nishida. And, I mean, it's unbelievable what they did in that game one. It was all over SportsCenter. Shout out Neil Everett. He was hyped. I was seeing him talk about it on SportsCenter was the most amazing thing ever. But, yeah, I mean, it was an unbelievable win, that game one. I mean, one hell of a series, too.
Yeah. So game 2 goes a little differently, kind of the reverse, where Oral Roberts ends up coming back in that one. And I think a lot of people are going to point to that error by Gavin Grant in the bottom of the 9th inning. Maybe could have turned a double play. Oral Roberts ends up walking it off a few minutes later. So a lot of people are going to blame him. But listen, this is a senior that has been with this program, like we mentioned, with Callie and Tanner Smith, a guy that's helped put this program on the map. I don't think you can blame him. And also, the next game, the pitching totally collapsed. Like, they just didn't have it. They could not get out of innings there late when Oral Roberts ended up ramping up their lead to 11. So, to me, going forward, and it's funny now that Oregon fans, have gone from not really caring about this program to now questioning Coach Waz's decisions and different things, and it's funny. And honestly, I think it's a good sign because it shows that they now care enough to be mad at the coach. Because like Oregon fans have criticized the football coaches forever because they care. So, I think to me, more than isolating one error by Gavin Grant, I think to me, some pitching issues that have been here all year long. They ended up having to play Jackson Pace, a guy that got rocked by Washington the last time we saw him.
Yeah.
And they had to play him, and the fact that they were down to him and some of those younger guys shows the pitching has got to be something that's bolstered this offseason through recruiting and through the portal, I think.
I think that's definitely going to be the big moves we see this offseason, just getting some pitchers. They were worn out by all these injuries and stuff. You see Matt Dallas had a wild pitch and everything. But, it is what it is. There's nothing you can really do about it. They had injuries and stuff, but
a lot of injuries. Jay Stofall. Isaac Aon. Your ace pitcher in college baseball is so important. We've talked about that on the show time and time again, how important your pitching is at this time in the season. They didn't have Isaac Aon the entire time. That was a bombshell drop by Waz. I remember on media day, that was stunning to lose him, to have Jay Stofall step up and then have another injury and never be able to come back. I think was extremely detrimental to this team. I think you have two of those guys. I think both of those guys, or even one of the two, if you have Jay Stofall, this team might be in Omaha right now.
Don't want to play a game of what ifs, but I definitely think the outcome of, I think they would have been in Omaha right now.
Yeah. So maybe get those guys back for next year, and this program could go to another level. But all in all, don't want to be a prisoner of the moment and criticize this team too much for that last game. This is one of the greatest seasons in program history. So shout out to what they were able to do. Unquestionably a positive, and I think they're going to have more fans. It might not be the same. It might not be the same in the middle of the Pac-12 season this year. It might not be the same crowd that we saw in the Super Regionals, but clearly an important step for this program that 100%. Was gone for so long, that just came back in 2009, the year you were born, and was now just one win away from a Super Regional. So anything else to say about Oregon baseball, their season, what they were able to do?
Like I said, I'm going to say it again, magical run.
Yeah.
We wrote them off. Our first episode is what's up with Oregon baseball.
Still tough.
They were on that losing
look.
streak. They lost to UW. They were playing against Utah in their final they were 16 and 14 in conference play or something along those lines.
Yeah.
They were struggling. We didn't even think they were going to have really that much of a chance in the Pac-12 tournament, and then they went on that 9-game win streak.
Yeah.
They took out everyone in the Pac-12 tournament. They beat they meet people in Nashville, the Nashville Regionals. So, I think overall, it was a really great season. Sadly, the way it ended, it is what it is. But I think overall, you can't ask for a better season for this program.
Yeah, you're going to lose some guys for next year. Obviously, that senior group that we've mentioned, a lot of guys are going to be drafted in the MLB. You could lose Sabine Ceballos. I've seen him as a top 150 prospect, potentially very early pick. But you're going to get Riku Nishida back. There are some guys that you're going to get back. Hopefully some of those pitchers that we mentioned, Jacob Walsh maybe. So a lot of moving pieces here with this team going forward, but I think that the bones are in place. It was a stacked lineup this year. A lot of guys that weren't in the lineup regularly would play for a lot of teams. The batting was not the issue this year. Pretty incredible stuff. So we'll see if they could carry it forward. We're going to carry the show forward after the break. We're going to it's going to get a little sad. We're sad. Our guy had a tough showing at UFC 289, and it might be our fault for cursing him, but we still love him, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit. Maybe try to talk about some positives with that. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the TD show. So we were having fun watching Oregon baseball this weekend. Didn't end the way we wanted it to, especially for you. You especially as an Oregon Duck fan, but also for me. You want to see the teams you cover do well, potentially go to Omaha. We didn't get to have that happen, but another disappointment for us this weekend. We were taking L's this weekend. Our guy, Adam Fugitt, did lose at UFC 289 in the main card. We had him on the show a couple weeks ago. Great guy. We loved hanging out with him.
Yeah,
talented fighter. Didn't have his best showing. Didn't have his stuff necessarily. I was at that wedding. Wasn't able to watch. Wasn't able to get the pay-per-view. But you watched. Just kind of give us an overview of what happened.
Yeah, it was, Canadian fighters, they were all great. It was a clean sweep. All the Canadian fighters went 6-0. Mike Mallet.
In Vancouver. In their home crowd, yeah.
They were home showing, so they had to go a little, extra.
Yeah.
But, from the fight itself, win or lose, I am always going to support Adam Fugitt. We are always going to support. We want to have him back on this show. Win or lose, still always going to have his back.
He's our guy. He's a friend of the TD show. Great man, yeah.
100%. But, from the fight, I don't want to rip into him hard, but, that first round, he was looking a little slow.
Yeah.
He was throwing these Muay Thai kicks, but they were coming at Mike Mallet really slow. Maybe even I could dodge him. And I don't fight.
Yeah.
So he was looking a little slow. They were kind of just reading each other out, kind of getting a vibe. He landed a couple shots on Mike Mallet, but there was at one point where Mallet landed this right hand sorry, it wasn't a right hand. It was a kick right into right here.
And that can change a fight. That
and
liver
you
kick.
See him wince, and even Daniel Cormier, the commentator, was like, "Oh, he's hurt. He felt that."
Yeah.
And I think that was really that was like the kind of the snowball
turning
effects.
point.
It was a huge turning point, and then he survived the first round, thank goodness. And then second round, a minute in, Mike Mallet catches him with a little right hand, left hand combo, and just immediately knocks him down, puts him in a guillotine, and submits him.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I was actually here at work producing on the weekend, and I was trying not to scream in the newsroom. I was really upset. It's a tough showing. It's nothing you ever want to see for a fighter. I was hoping it would go to decision or something along those lines, or at least make it to the full 3 rounds. So it sucks, but shout out Mike Mallet. He is, like he said,
he's a prospect. Yeah,
he's a prospect. He's one of those up and coming guys. He looks really good. He had, he finished Adam Fugitt. He is, all those Canadian fighters. The card itself was great, but yeah, tough showing for Adam Fugitt. The rest of the card was great though. You look at Charles Oliveira with his knockout over Beneil Dariush. That was great. I was screaming my head off for that as well. But for Adam Fugitt, he is now 1-1 in the UFC. Technically, I don't know how his contract is. Probably
1-2. I think he is now because he had that first one on short notice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So 1-2, and he's got one more fight potentially. We'll see what he does with it, but. It's a tough showing, especially on a main card. This could have been really a huge exposure for him. You look at Mike Mallet; it was huge exposure for him. He got performance of the night along with Oliveira and one other fighter.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So like I said, wishing nothing but the best for Adam Fugitt, but
it's a tough sport, and this is tough because you interview athletes, you get to know them. I know him a little bit just from going to that gym, and with other sports, you lose a game. With this one, it's just so brutal that hurts you almost physically when you see your guys go down, a Eugene guy go down. But I don't think it's over for him. I think that he'll get another shot in the UFC, maybe on a fight night, maybe on a prelim, maybe it's on Fight Pass or whatever, but he'll get another opportunity. And this is a guy that came in on 9 days' notice and had an absolute 3-round war in his first fight.
Yeah.
And then a guy that impressed everybody with a massive upset win in his second fight over at the Apex in Vegas. So I don't think this is the last we've seen of Adam Fugitt. I think you're right. I think that kick early affected him a lot. He's 34 years old, so don't get me wrong. The clock is definitely ticking a little bit. But I don't think he's done. And, let's just put it in perspective. he's made it to the UFC. He's made it to the highest stage. He's one of the absolute best welterweight fighters in the world, in the top 0.00000%, whatever it is. So he's already made it. He's already made an impact, I think, on this town, and he's going to continue to train people and train the next generation of fighters. He's talking about his girlfriend
100%.
is an incredible amateur fighter that could be on the way up. So not the last we've seen of Adam Fugitt from a training perspective. He's going to be in people's corners. And we hope to see him in the UFC again and hopefully pick up a win this time. But it's a brutal sport, and it hurts when your guys go down. This has happened to me before when interviewing MMA fighters before. But it's a brutal game, and you get to that level, you get to the main card. There's levels to this stuff, and sometimes you get humble. But we've also seen a lot of crazy career arcs in this sport. We've seen 100%. A lot of guys that were on the verge of getting cut by Dana White. Charles Oliveira is one of them.
Exactly.
He was
100%.
very middle tier for a while and was kind of up and down his entire career, and now he's one of the best in the very world champion. So it's going to be interesting to see how he rebounds from it. We're excited to have him back on the show, maybe talk about it a little bit more, but all the best to him. Tough loss for him, tough loss for us in the TD show, but we took it on the chin.
Hopefully we don't curse fighters, so if you're an up-and-coming MMA fighter, still come join our show.
Yeah, please.
We won't curse you. You won't lose, I promise.
Please.
But hopefully that's not the case, knock on wood, if there's any right there.
And he's going to learn from it. He's a guy that's very visual. He's a guy that is very intentional with his preparation. He's going to learn from this. We're going to learn about something after this break. I went to a wedding, so we're going to do a draft of our favorite wedding reception songs. Idea I had driving on over here, so we're going to have some fun with this and then get out of here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the TD show. To close things out, we're going to end with a little draft. Went to a wedding reception this weekend. Now, been to some weddings lately, kind of at that age where heads are getting cuffed. Heads are getting cuffed up for life. They're finding the one, so you go to a lot of weddings.
100%. Love's in the air. I was also at a wedding a little over a year ago, or less than a year ago. But yeah, it was for my girlfriend's brother. He just got married. Congrats to him. But yeah, I mean,
heads are getting cuffed.
Heads are getting cuffed. Love is in the air. I mean, it's wedding season. You know, weddings are fun. I mean, this past one was my first wedding where I was like 21 over. So. Trust me, I had a great time at that open bar. I'm sure you had a great time at your wedding reception. It was a great time.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. Wedding reception, that's when the party starts.
Yes, this is the best part of a wedding. You get done with the ceremony. I was a groomsman, so I was standing a lot. Heads were getting tired. I was getting a little antsy. The ring bearers, the little ring bearers in front of me were getting antsy. Heck, I was antsy too. I was starting to move around a little bit. Heads were getting tired. You get to the reception. You get done with all the pictures. We were literally taking pictures on the golf course. It was still kind of light out. Yeah. And as we were getting out of the golf course, we were like, heads might still be golfing. Sure enough, a drive flies right over our wedding party as we're taking pictures. Nobody hurt in the process, but that was pretty funny. But heads are getting done with pictures. You get done with the dinner, and then it's time to freaking party.
Yes.
And I will say this band this weekend was amazing.
Oh, you had a band, okay.
Great song selection. Yeah, nice. The band versus DJ debate. I've always been more on the DJ side of things. I really like this band. So we decided we're going to do a draft of the best wedding songs of all time.
Yes.
You're going to get the first pick. We're not going to go snake style. We'll just go straight up. Hopefully ours don't get taken. Mine don't get taken. But best wedding songs, however you define that. You know, I define a good wedding song. Something you could dance to, of course. Something that gets everyone going, inclusive. Something for the kids, something for the grandmas. Something that everyone kind of knows, the universal feel. Something that gets everyone singing and out of their chairs. So let's start with you. What do you got?
I mean, with that being said, I think one of the most universally loved songs, no matter what, is September by Earth, Wind & Fire. I mean, honestly,
every wedding.
You could argue any song by Earth, Wind & Fire, but specifically September. I mean, you hear that song firing up. Even before the lyrics start going, I mean, people are getting up, people are clapping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a great song. I mean, I wish we could play. We probably get, copyright by
Sued.
Whoever. But yeah, I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah.
You hear it anywhere, even if outside of a wedding. You hear that song at a baseball game or just in general, like at the mall or something. It's just such a feel-good song. And like we said, your grandparents can hear it.
They know
kids can hear it. Anyone of any age will be able to enjoy that song. So I mean, that's going to be my first pick. It's a great song.
Yeah, I actually think like the first or second song played. I've never known the lyrics, but I still sing along somehow. Like I figure it out in the moment. You catch the vibe. That's a great number one pick. My number one pick didn't play at this wedding, but I think it should play at every wedding. Great band, but they did not go for this one. I'm going to go with Hey Ya by Outkast. I am an Atlanta native. A little more, I don't think, the Earth, Wind, and Fire, that plays at every single wedding ever. Yeah. It's never not played in a wedding, and that's worldwide. Probably in Oslo, probably in Moscow, probably in Melbourne. That song plays. Hey Ya, maybe a little less played, but I think it is a perfect pump-you-up song. Gets everyone going. It's so catchy. I'm an Atlanta guy, so Outkast is literally running in my blood. My number one first-round pick is Hey Ya. What do you got next?
All right, for my second pick, kind of along the lines where it's kind of like an older little hip-hop song, but I think to this day, still you hear it, it bumps. Everyone gets crazy for it. I think it's Yeah by Usher and Lil Jon.
Oh, the little song, newer one.
It may not be for everybody, but for people that know that song, I mean, it is such a banger. You hear it, you immediately want to start throwing down on the dance floor. I mean, it played at both of these songs. I don't think they played at the last wedding I was at, but I've heard it at weddings that I've been to, and they just go crazy. I mean, you hear that song, Yeah by Usher. It's a great one.
More of a DJ situation. I think that plays every 100%. Time there's a DJ, but not necessarily a band. I'm going to go with a band song here, but that's a great pick. I like that pick. I'm going to go with Don't Stop Believin'. It's basic, but I'll just tell you how I reacted to it when it started playing. I was kind of hanging off to the side, taking a little breather, so sweaty, talking to my dad. It started playing. I think I shoved my dad out of the way. Afterwards, he was like, you literally like elbowed me in the chest to get out of here. Like, I'm right here. I elbowed him in the chest like a UFC fighter, and I beelined with like a 4-3 40-yard dash to the dance floor and just started going nuts. I actually think it was during that song. I don't know if this makes sense, but we were like lifting the groom in the air. Doesn't really seem like that type of song, but still.
It's the vibe.
It happened. It was the vibe. It's fun to sing.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. The olds played it, probably heard it in high school. We hear it now. So I'm going with Don't Stop Believin' for the second round pick.
There you go. For my last pick, for my third pick, it's kind of a different song. It's a slow song, right, to begin with, and it's country.
Whoa, okay.
I'm not a fan of country. Well, okay, now I'm becoming a fan of country. It
happens as you get older. It's happened to me a little bit. I was always very anti-country, and it's come back around for me a little bit.
Exactly, and I heard this song at a wedding, and I was like sitting there kind of listening to the lyrics, and I was like, wow, this is actually like a really beautiful song. So my pick is Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton.
Oh, wow, that is a slow dancer.
If you know Chris Stapleton, you know what I'm talking about, but he's a great singer. He sang the national anthem for the Super Bowl, and I mean, that was probably one of the best national anthem renditions I've ever heard, up there with Whitney Houston. But you listen to Tennessee Whiskey, I heard it. It was like, it's a slow dance song, definitely for the bride and groom, or just for anyone that wants to slow dance. But it is one hell of a song. You listen to the lyrics, you listen to the voice of Chris Stapleton. It is a really, really good, just nice, slow song. It's fun for everybody. Anyone can listen to it. So I know it's not really a more hypey, dancey music, but I think for sure I would want to play it at my wedding, kind of thing.
That's a good one. Is that kind of an earlier slow? Like, is the slow dance earlier, or is that maybe like a change of pace, like midway through?
It depends on how you go about it. I've seen both ways. I've seen where we start with the slow dance, but then I've seen where it's like in the middle of middle of the night. So I guess it depends on who is doing the wedding. But what would you prefer?
I think Tennessee Whiskey maybe at the beginning, just as you're kind of easing into it. Good first dance song too.
Yeah.
Very good first dance song. Okay, so my final pick, I am going with Jump Around because I think, and I'm surprised you didn't pick Shout. I thought maybe you would pick Shout. I feel
my God.
I feel like every Oregon fan probably has that at their wedding, and that's a good wedding song.
They play that in Wedding Crashers. You remember that in that scene?
That's a classic wedding song.
I'm so sorry, Oregon Duck fans. I didn't think of Shout. I feel like such an idiot right now. Shout. What the hell?
But Jump Around, you agree with? So Jump Around, the reception goes through so many stages. This was, kind of dies down in the middle. Everybody's sweating. Everybody's tired. Everybody's refueling on the drinks. This was a get everyone back on the dance floor song as we transition into the bouquet and the throwing of the strap thing. It's kind of like a change of pace song. You know, people are refueling. People are getting their other drinks. Maybe they're sweating. Maybe they're getting some water. This was a get everyone back on the dance floor song, so that it transitions into when you need everyone out there for the bouquet throwing as you get ready for the send off. So I think it's kind of it's not the last song. It's not the first song. It's a 75%.
It's a bounce back song.
It's a 75% of the way song.
Yeah.
Get everyone jumping in the air. Get everyone energized again. Everyone gets their second win. I think it's a very, very key part of a wedding jump around. And
Beautiful.
I'll say this too. It seems like more of a DJ song, right, than a live band song.
I'm so that's not a wedding song, by the way. That'd be my wedding.
But Jump Around seems like more of a DJ song, and I thought that it was maybe playing over the speakers.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, the lead singer of the band, was rapping it word for word exactly like it sounds in the recording. This was an elite band.
So with that being said, though, for your wedding in like the next 40 years, DJ or live band?
I think DJ, because I've always said that when I get married, the one thing, I don't know anything about flowers. I don't know the difference between a peonies and a rose, for goodness sake. I don't care about what color it is. It could be chartreuse. It could be magenta.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that, the venue, but I care about the songs. And I think I've always said that the one thing that I want to control is the playlist.
That's very
Because
fair.
I want my songs to play, Whatever You Like by T.I., that type of thing. You know, my songs. So I think DJ, I would have to go, even though a band is also great. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, last wedding I was at, it was a live band, and they were great. Don't get me wrong. They were, you know, the woman, the lead singer, she had amazing vocals.
Yeah.
She was going crazy. But I'm also going to have to go DJ because, yeah, I'm going to want some of my songs to play, man.
That's the one thing I want jurisdiction over at my wedding.
Exactly. Like,
in
am I going to
40
ask
years.
a live band to play some, like, Waka Flocka? No. You know, that's not going to happen. So with a DJ, it's like, all right, I know what's coming up. I know what I have queued.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to have to go DJ as well.
Awesome. Well, those are our decisions. Disagree with us, you know, in the Facebook comments, YouTube comments, whatever you want. That is our draft. I'm sure we left some on the table, but another fun episode of the TD
100%.
Show. This one actually releasing, so we're excited about that, and we will see you next week for episode 5. Peace.